about Sunrun 1, powerfully improved proposals. Let's take a look at the agenda and talk about what we're going to cover today in this webinar. Whenever we do a Sunrun webinar, we always start with Sunrun best practices and requirements. We have a lot of new faces, a lot of new folks that are probably attending these webinars for the first time. So we want to make sure that everyone understands Sunrun's practices and requirements. Then we'll talk about the key differences between One and Splat, go over how to create a lead and open Sunrun One, designing this new system in their new interface, different things and best practices there, how it works, how it looks, troubleshooting that new interface. Anytime there's something new introduced, there's going to be a learning curve. So we want to make sure that we try to cover everything that could possibly cause speed bumps while you're doing a design. And then we'll do signing agreements, project generation, and submission. And like all of our webinars, we will have a Q&A session. We're joined by Mike Bailing from Sunrun. So if you have questions about this new platform and the process, about halfway through this presentation, we will open up a Q&A so you can start submitting questions and answer once this portion of the presentation is finished. So let's talk about Sunrun best practices and requirements. The first thing we always talk about with Sunrun is their policy on usage data. There are 3 different routes you take when entering usage in for a Sunrun project. Now, if this is a brand new home, the homeowner just moved in, they don't have a utility bill or 0 months of data, you would not put any of their usage in, and you would rely simply on the square footage tool to generate the amount of kWh needed for that project. Now, if you have between 1 and 11 months of usage, you're going to be using their Genability tool by putting in the months of usage that you have or the square footage tool. When using Genability, the month must be entered into the correct corresponding month in the partner portal, Splat, or in this case, One. Proof of usage must be supplied for the entered month. When you're using the square footage tool, the proof of square footage and one bill showing an active account must be uploaded. So for 12 plus months of usage, Genability can be used. Only 1 month of usage is required, and the remaining months can be left blank in the partner portal. Up to 12 months of historical usage may also be input, but remember, when you put in those 12 months, you have to put in proof of usage for all of the months that you supply. So what are Sunrun's credit requirements? Sunrun requires a 650 or above FICO for monthly installment systems. Sunrun does not look at debt to income or bankruptcies. Spouses or domestic partners can qualify for Sunrun if they are not on title. And Sunrun uses a cascading soft credit check system, meaning if they check TransUnion and the number's close, it will then cascade down to Equifax and down to Experian. And then once one of those credit bureaus actually approves the project, it would stop there. And of course, like all projects, make sure there are credit blocks removed prior to running that soft credit check. So what are Sunrun's approval requirements? So to get SRA, the homeowner must pass credit. They must sign the ACH forms, sign their Sunrun agreement, provide a utility bill, complete the verification call, and upload any additional documentation that they request. And all of that will be seen in this process when we get to the checkout screen when we do this demonstration. So in this transition between Sunrun One and Splat, let's talk about the key differences between the two. So if you are a veteran of creating projects in Splat, then you know that Splat defaults to using BrightPath for its designs. It does not have the new offer builder, where pricing and design are paired, which is a less efficient process. And that's why they've transitioned to Sunrun One to improve that process. So as we move over to Sunrun One, Splat will be phased out in the coming months, meaning there's no new updates coming that will be provided to the Splat platform. So the other key differences between Splat and Sunrun One, now Sunrun One defaults to the offer builder and IHD. The offer builder gives you far more control over designs, which we will show you here momentarily. You can change the module's orientation, placement, and the amounts directly in the offer builder. In the offer builder, it's easier to build multiple offers. And when you are building your proposals in Sunrun 1, each panel that you place on the roof, you will see the amount of sun hours that specific panel gets. In addition, when you are designing these projects in Sunrun 1, while you're waiting for the design to come back, you can qualify the homeowners, input the utility data prior to checkout, and save you a lot of time and steps when you get to that checkout stage. Now, if you're working in the Puerto Rico market, Puerto Rico projects will still use the Sunrun Partner Portal to design those projects. Sunrun 1 is for all other markets, but for the time being, you will create your Puerto Rico projects in the Sunrun Partner Portal. So let's talk about creating a lead for Sunrun 1 and the real best practice happy path process, which every sales rep should be doing when they're creating a Sunrun project. So if you're going to work in Sunrun, where you should start is Lightspeed. You should navigate to the leads dashboard and create that lead, or if it's an already preset lead from one of your setters, it would be located in that leads dashboard. When you open up the leads dashboard and navigate to the lead itself, when you open up the leads dashboard and want to create a Sunrun 1 proposal, you will open the lead and click the new Sunrun proposal button. Now, one of two things is going to happen. If you are already logged into Sunrun, it will take you directly to Sunrun 1, or you'll click the button that says View Project and Splat. It will take you to the login screen, and then you will log in, which will then redirect you to Sunrun 1. Again, as Splat is phased out, the terminology will change in Lightspeed and all of the portals, but for now, you'll click that View Project and Splat, and it will redirect you to Sunrun 1. So now we're going to jump over to Lightspeed and go step by step through this process as we've created a Sunrun proposal from the start of the lead all the way through the checkout process and then submitting that project to Lightspeed. All right, so we've jumped over to Lightspeed and we are going to walk through the process of going from a lead that we've generated in Lightspeed and converting that into a Sunrun 1 proposal. So you can see I've already got a lead built here, and I've pressed the new Sunrun proposal button. So from this point, I can go to View Project and Splat. This will take us to the login screen for Sunrun. And we're going to log in using our channel and sales partners login. So let's go ahead and do that. As soon as we log in through the sales partner platform, it's going to take us to Sunrun 1. So to interact with the lead that we've created in Lightspeed, we need to go to the tool here, the two people next to each other, and bring up our list of leads. So I'm going to choose this top one and click View Prospect. From here, we need to fill in all of the gaps that we didn't have when we created the lead. So we'll click Edit Profile. And the first thing we're going to do is check the box for call consent. After call consent, you'll check the boxes for, is this part of an HOA? What kind of roof type is it? And what is the utility company? Now, if you have the KWH usage, you could enter it here. Remember that the Sunrun bill process means when you submit a bill to Sunrun, the information, the KWH usage for the bill that you submit needs to be what is included in the information that you put in for the KWH usage. So let's say I have these last 2 months on that bill. So I have the current month and the previous month. Now I'm going to save those changes. As soon as I save those changes in Sunrun 1, it's going to open up the option for me to open that proposal. So let's click Open Proposal now and take a look at the key differences between what we had previously in Splat and this new Sunrun 1 presentation. So already, if you've been in Sunrun in the past, you'll see the design changes and that you have your ability to progress through the slides here now on the bottom left. So here's where you would see the nearby customers. and then some more of the Sunrun sales related slides that would pop up, like the overview, the different products, about the company, and energy by state. Now, at this point, when you're getting to the site model progress, this is actually a really cool feature now. So we've added our usage details, we've done the home quality survey, but some of the items that are included at checkout, you can complete while you're waiting for your site model progress so that you can progress to the offer builder. So if you have the utility bill, you can upload it here. You can take the information from the utility bill and update that information, like their account number, the meter number, confirming the address, if you have the rate schedule. So we'll get all of that information. You can put that in ahead of time so that when the customer decides to move forward, all of that information's already put into the checkout screen, saving you time later. You also have the ability to qualify the customer and run that soft credit check here while you're waiting for the site model. So if you want to qualify the customer in advance, you would click here to launch the soft credit check. So we're going to wait for the site model to progress. And once you get the notification, you can jump back in and we're going to show you how the offer builder works from this point on. Okay, we've received notification that our site model is complete. So now we can go to the offer builder. Now remember, earlier in this presentation, when we were talking about the differences between Splat and Sunrun 1, you'll now see that the offer builder is separate from the pricing tool, where it's not all in one package. So it allows for a more efficient design and gives you more control over where you place the panels. But there's some best practices that we need to go over in order for you to maximize your success and ultimately learn this new system. So the first thing we're going to do now that we've got our site model ready is create an offer in the offer builder. So here we're going to choose whether we're only going with a solar only package or solar plus backup. So I'm going to stick for this demonstration with a solar package and we'll do the black on black modules. Now I will go to the design. So this is going to open up LightMile and allow us to design where we want the panels for this project. Okay, so initially you're going to see a max fit or even more than a max fit design appear on the roof. Now, all of these panels with the X's on them are in locations that we currently can't use. So I can click on these panels now and delete them. I can also hold down my control key and delete multiple panels at once. Notice that as I delete these panels, the offset for the project changes. Now, a key error you just saw pop up. This panel was active before, but now it's not. And that's because you can't have a roofing plane with only a single panel now. So I'm going to drag this panel a little bit further north, and then I'm going to place another panel next to it. As soon as I place that second panel, the first one appears. So keep that in mind when you're designing the system. Also, while I have your attention on this screen, you'll notice that each one of these panels has its own number on them. That number on the panel is the sun hours that panel is going to generate for this system. So you can clearly see that on the front of this property, this roofing plane gets far more sun hours than these roofing planes in the back that get about 500 sun hours less. So I'm going to work my way through this and delete the panels that are not currently active. And right now I'm at a 98%. So if I was satisfied with that, I could finalize that design. But first, I need to change the panels and I need to know how to change the equipment. So on the right side of the Sunrun 1 proposal tool in the offer builder, I'll click this down arrow and here's where I can choose the different modules. So I'm going to choose the base model panel of the 385s and select. And let's say we're going to go with a solar edge inverter. Now, when I collapse this again, you see that the offset has changed. So I will go ahead and delete these. Now, let's say I have these in landscape mode, but I want the panels to be rotated into that portrait mode. So let me go ahead and remove the panels from this roof plane and place one here. When I click on it, I can rotate it. All of the panels on each roof plane in the Sunrun 1 design proposal have to be facing the same orientation. So now, rotate these, snap them together, and you'll see them. Now, if I want all of those panels to be in that portrait mode, I can click up here and say that I want my default orientation to be portrait. So now that when I click, we'll start to fill in. Now, if I click here, I'm going to add a panel that is on this setback or keep out. So I can't have that there. So I would have to delete that. Anytime you click on a panel that has the X's over it, you can find out what the module issue is. It's placed in an invalid location. So I can drag that and snap it into the queue here. So you can see, just by coming into this new proposal, you've got a lot more flexibility, a lot more of the control over the design itself as you place these modules. And you can see exactly for the entirety of your project, based on the average of all of these panels, what the sun hours is for that project, how much it's going to produce versus how much the homeowner consumes, and the system size here. I can zoom in, zoom out, change the map view, and see the sunshade. So if you wanted to see exactly where the best place to put those panels here, you can click the tool here and turn on the sunshade tool to find out which roof planes obviously get a little more sun. Okay, so when we want to finalize this design, we'll click the finalize button. This will finalize this and give us a review of that offer. So once this is finalized, we will go to pricing. So we finalized the offer. Now we need to price the project. Same as before, we have our monthly payment options here and the different escalators available for the different markets. So I'll choose the 2.9 escalator. Let's say for this one, we're going to go 11 cents and I'll go to review. Once I click go to review, that will take us to the offer review that you can review with the homeowner. Now we're at the offer review where you can review the system size, the production, the offset consumption. Scroll down, it's a top to bottom scroll. You'll get down to the area where there's the pricing, the energy rate, what their monthly payments are, and the next steps, and the option to go to checkout. Now you can also send that offer or click return to all offers. If you click return to all offers, this will take you back to the offer manager where you can build additional offers. So we see our first one here, the system size, the escalator, the amount of panels. If we wanted to build another one from scratch, we could do that here. So I'm going to return this one to offer review and then click the checkout screen. Now, if you are familiar with Sunrun, the checkout screen is going to look very similar to what you had in Splat. We'll click Let's Begin and walk through the process of going through the confirmation of names, the credit check, the reading and signing of the documents, the confirmation of the utility info. Again, if you had done this earlier in the presentation, this would have a checkbox next to it. Upload any additional documents like the utility bill. If you've uploaded it in the previous screen, that will show up here as well. Enrolling the homeowner in auto pay, and then completing the verification call. So once you complete all of those steps and get green check boxes for all of these, you can then convert the project back to Lightspeed. So I'm going to jump over to Lightspeed now and convert this to a project to complete the submission process and use that Sunrun API connection. Okay, we've jumped back over to Lightspeed. I've brought up the lead for this project and reopen that lead. So I'm going to scroll down to Sunrun proposal. After the homeowner has signed all of the documentation, completed the verification call, you can return here and click check status. As soon as we click check status, it's going to check with Sunrun to see if everything has been signed and immediately open up the project generator. This project generator is incredibly important because number one, it copies everything over from the Sunrun project, so you're not having to enter all of that data twice. So we can see we've got everything here. It's confirmed from the proposal that we just brought over. I'm going to confirm those proposal details. Then if they were going with one of our smart home packages, you would choose one of those here. If there were any upgrades to the project, like an EV charger or end phase, you would choose those options here. We'll click next. Confirming the basic information of the project. I'm going to say it's the same address. This is a roof mounted system. You would fill in the homeowners association information here, utility bill information, utility bill holder, matching the sold layout. If you are doing a referral or a rebate, you would check those boxes here and fill out the appropriate information. Whatever notes are associated with the project, remember the more detail here you provide, the better. Then we'll click next to go to the final screen of the project generator, where it's going to show any remaining documents that need to be generated and signed by the homeowner, as well as another opportunity to upload the utility bill or any other supporting documentation. So I'm going to click send documents and exit. And we have now taken that project from Sunrun back into Lightspeed and converted it. So now we're just waiting for the homeowner to sign and complete those pending actions to submit this project, and we're good to move forward. So I'm going to jump back over. That pretty much wraps up our demonstration of the new Sunrun One process. We have Mike Bailing from Sunrun as well as Rob Angel from Freedom here to answer any of your questions you have available about this new Sunrun One process. So let's get into that Q&A session now. All right, our Q&A is officially live. We haven't received any questions yet, so if you do have any questions specifically about the Sunrun One process, please submit those now. Our first question that we do have is from Craig, and it is, can you create a duplicate proposal based on your first proposal? Mike, you can do that right from the offer manager, right?
Yes, you can. You can simply, go into pricing, reapprove pricing if you wanted to have, say, 30 module design and you wanted to do one proposal at 15 cents and another one at 18 cents. You can just go back into the offer manager and generate that new agreement with the different pricing.
Appreciate that, Mike. And next question is from Kay. Can you share the recording link? So a little bit later this afternoon, probably this evening, we will send out a recap of the entire recording so you can review it. It'll also be available in Lightspeed in our video library. And we will also have a couple of instructional documents that will be attached to it. So we'll have some step-by-step. So you'll have it in a PDF version, a video version, and inside of our video library. So we're going to try to cover all of the bases here, right? So we got some questions coming in. Questions coming in now. So let me just take a moment to go through the questions that are popping in, and we will generate some of these.
Mark, do you mind if I just rapid fire some of these?
Absolutely.
Okay, so why is it showing a picture of a Tesla Powerwall even when the battery you have selected was SolarEdge? Yeah, we're working on getting that updated. SolarEdge for backup is a new change that we have just implemented. Previously, SolarEdge was only available for shipped in California. So we're working on getting the animations updated with that. The referral rebate section.
I can take that.
Okay, yeah.
That is part of the project generator. So if someone was referring this customer to you and you wanted to send them a referral or a rebate in the project generator, you could set the amount that you wanted to cut a check to that person in that. And that's part of the PG Lite workflow when you convert the project over from Sunrun's API. So that you will have to price that into the project and the system and if you want to send me that question offline, we can get a little bit more detail on the whole referral rebate process.
Will Freedom be able to find the project if you start the lead in one tool and finish everything there? Yes. should still be accessible. Is there a way to turn off entire roof planes without individual panels turning them off? At this time, no. You just need to turn off all the panels for that specific roof plane. This is live. This has been live for a while, a couple weeks actually. I did see a question about, is there a way to go back into Splat? Yes. If you click on the menu button on the bottom left to open up all of the different tabs you can go to, there's a button that says back to Classic, and that will take you back into the Splat environment that you're more used to.
Thanks, Mike. Some great questions coming in. We have a question about some great questions coming in. Does Sunrun 1 factor in shading from trees?
Yes. The trees are still going to be modeled by Sunrun's team initially, so that the shading is still going to be factored in and accounted for.
Okay, we have a question from Zach about the EPCs for batteries. In Splat, the EPC is higher if the battery cost is a separate line item. Will we still be given the option to display that additional line item cost?
When you are looking at pricing, it will still show you the breakdown of the solar EPC as well as the battery EPC, and then a combined total monthly payment for the customer.
Okay. Do you know about the Powerwall 3? Do you have any insight on the Powerwall 3? We've had a few questions in there about that.
Powerwall 3 is coming. I don't have a definitive date yet, unfortunately, but we are working to get it approved as soon as we possibly can so that we can make it available for you.
And for these projects that are in California, when they're using the Shift product, does the new Sunrun 1 reflect those options as well?
Yes, if you're in California in one of the 3 IOU utilities, so SCE, PG&E, SDG&E, when you open up the offer builder and choose which option you want, you'll have an option for solar only, which is discouraged. You'll have an option for Shift, and then you will also have the option for solar plus storage, which you can do with a Tesla or Solar Edge backup. In order to select the Solar Edge backup, when you're on the offer page and you're looking at choosing that you want a battery, select base as the battery for Solar Edge. If you select premium, it will do the Tesla for backup.
And Derek, to answer your question about the lead process, it is always best to create that lead in Lightspeed and then convert it over to Sunrun so that there is that API link so you can easily and quickly convert that project after everything is signed. Mike, do you want to address re-roofs? Do you have any insight on that? There was a question in the Q&A about re-roofs. I want to say I know the answer, but I'd prefer to defer it to you.
If you know the customer is going to need a re-roof, obviously when we're looking at pricing, that's where you would want to increase the PPW to account for that additional cost. If that's something that needs to be done after site audit, or if there are design changes that need to be done after site audit, again, the SOW team or the CE team would be able to complete those true-ups.
Okay. So we are getting a lot of questions in our Q&A about things other than Sunrun 1. So if you do have questions that are outside of the frame of reference of the current webinar, we encourage you to email those to producteducation@freedomforever.com, especially things like, the different modules or like availability. There are just certain things that this webinar is not really reserved for. So if you do have questions about this specific process, we would love to answer them. Any questions that are not related to Sunrun 1, make sure to email those in and the product education team will answer them. Like, does Sunrun allow ground mounts?
Yes. In the event that you need a ground mount, you put in a redesign request and say, I need to design a ground mount in, north of the home, west of the home, whatever direction, so that the redesign team knows where to place the square for you to put panels in.
All right. Any other questions related to Sunrun 1? Anything related to the process that we went over today?
Feature. I can get back with you specifically on that. One thing to note, when you're in Sunrun 1 and you are in control of the design, if you send in a design request for something saying like, hey, I want 9 panels all in a nice little square on the southern facing roof plane, that's up to you to create. If there's a specific design request, you have the ability to create that design now. So the redesign requests that you're going to be sending in are more going to be for roof planes that maybe weren't modeled that need to be designing a ground mount, for instance, or saying, hey, this customer had an addition that's not showing up in the imagery. We need to model that. Here's a sketch of what that addition is. So specific design requests of like, hey, I want the modules laid out landscape on the east facing roof plane. That's in your control now to be able to make those specific design changes.
All right, so we have a question from Zach. Is there a way to default our Jinko panels in Builder so that they don't have to be adjusted each time?
We are working on that. I would love to be able to make that the default module and update for whatever Freedom's default modules are. We're working on figuring out how to make that happen so that you don't have to change the modules every single time. But I do not have an explicit date when that's going to be fixed yet.
Appreciate that, Mike. So a question from Julio, where would they go to edit the offer once it's made?
So if you've already generated this and it's already signed and everything, you would go into Sunrun 1, click on the customer's name and go into the design itself again and just create another proposal that way. So click customer name, view online proposal, and then you're in the offer builder again where you can generate a new design, new agreement, new pricing, etc.
Appreciate that. Ricardo, we see your question about locating the home in Puerto Rico. And we went over this briefly in the presentation, but for now, Puerto Rico projects should still be designed in the partner portal. So you'll use the old method for generating projects. Sunrun 1 is not active there yet as we work on a solution for the direct problem you're talking about. Is that correct, Mike?
Absolutely. Yep. The addresses are not necessarily standardized the same way in Puerto Rico as they are in the rest of the country. And we're working on finding a solution to make it so that you have the ability to design projects in Puerto Rico correctly. And that is coming at some point, but we don't have that yet. So lots of its comings.
Right. Do you have an update utility company list for Sunrun? The current updated utility list is available in the Sales Resource Center under Finance and Payment Options. So if you navigate to that folder in Lightspeed in the Sales Resource Center, you'll be able to see the current active list for utilities. Unless there's one that's updated, I'll just double check with Mike after this presentation's over. And if it is updated, we'll upload that new version.
I'm opening it right now, and the one you have is correct.
Okay, so the most current version is in Lightspeed in the Sales Resource Center. Great question. Question from Moises, I may have missed it, but where can you choose PPW and EPC pricing? Mike, do you want to walk them through how they price a project after they're done with building their offer?
Yeah, so the steps are to approve your design, and you generate, create the offer, which is approving the design and going into pricing. And that will then show you the specific PPW and EPC. However, these are before any freedom adders. So for instance, if you know there's a 7-cent panel adder and the EPC that's showing in Sunrun is $3.07 a watt, once you take that freedom adder off, then you would be looking at a net PPW of $3. So the Sunrun EPCs do not take into account any freedom adders.
Great question. And we have a question from Jared. Is it possible to get a proposal off of square footage? I had issues when I didn't put any usage. So Mike, can you go over the square footage tool again?
Yeah, so the system will default to sizing on square footage when we have title and square footage information available. 99% of the time we do. But if it's a new home, new build, especially new builds that maybe we don't have title information for yet, that's something that you'll want to reach out to the sales support team. That's pre-SRA at sunrun.com, and they can help you with locating what the square footage should be, updating that amount, and then we can get it sized correctly that way. And we are also going to soon have the square footage field available. It'll show right under where you would normally enter usage. There will be a field for you to enter square footage if you need to size it that way.
Okay, folks, we are still waiting for a couple more questions directly related to the Sunrun 1 process. If you have any questions, drop them in the Q&A. Just as a reminder, for all of our webinars, we do upload them to the Lightspeed video library. This is a recap. This one will be a little bit different, where we'll also have supporting documentation that will go out once it's complete. So we want to make sure everyone successfully uses this Sunrun 1 product, that you're able to generate a lead in Lightspeed and take it all the way from lead to completion inside of Lightspeed and convert using our API connection. It's an incredibly useful tool, and we hope that everyone takes advantage of it. Mike, is there anything that we missed in the presentation that you wanted to go over, or before we, wrap this up?
No, I can see some of the questions. Noticing the setbacks are greater in Sunrun 1. They're appearing larger than they would in traditional BrightPath, and those can be trued up after site audit. So if you're not able to fit that one extra module on there, know that Freedom's team will be able to make those adjustments at true up. But the intention was to ensure that we're not potentially oversizing systems at the initial creation, so that we're not going to say, hey, we can absolutely put this 25 kilowatt system on your roof and offset 125% of your usage, to make sure that we can avoid having to downsize later. In fact, pushing it to potentially being able to increase the size later.
Pablo, we do see your question about the error message that's popping up. I know I had that happen to me one time. It did not happen to me when I used the Chrome browser. If you do continue to receive that message, email it to us. We will forward your information over to Mike to see if we can get that resolved. But that was something that was there for me briefly, and then was resolved when I used the Chrome browser. Any other questions?
See a question about metal roofs. Sunrun is we allow them, but it's up to Freedom to make sure that the roof is up to Sunrun standards. We require that metal roofs have sufficient decking underneath them. I know we've run into this a lot in Florida. So not necessarily Sunrun 1 related, but metal roofs are tricky. We can accept them, but a lot of times they end up getting DQ'd after sign off.
We see your question about the ADU. If you could email that into us, we will get that answered for you. So email that question to producteducation@freedomforever.com.
And then the question on the panels being the same, for the initial designs, we still need to do them with the same orientation. That can be trued up later to adjust for a max fit at true up to adjust the layout. So if we needed to have some that were portrait versus landscape, that can be adjusted later. But for the initial designs, the limitation is that the modules all stay the same orientation, because it can cause a lot of problems with fitting racking, especially if you've only got like 2 modules that are a different orientation in the roof plane. It can cost a lot more in materials and time to make that fit. So it can be trued up after site audit.
Thanks, Mike. We are about 45 after, so I think we're going to move to the wrap-up stage. Again, if there are any specific questions that didn't get answered today, please send those to producteducation@freedomforever.com, and we will make sure those questions get answered. I want to thank Mike Bailing for being here. Thank you all for joining us. We will send the recap out later this afternoon. Stay tuned for our next webinar in the bi-weekly webinar series, and we should have an invite coming out later this week with some exciting information.